walked to see what we were doing, and we were just getting and filling and getting and filling. And he tripped, stuck his foot hit the corner, out came a pile of boxes. And he looked and he said, "What's this?" And so we sheepishly looked, and we had to confess, and we were fired. So that's a memory that I remember with laughter. But I did bring pictures of Lanes Cove. I brought a picture of an aerial view of Lanesville that's hanging on the wall as you come in, that was taken by a photographer that I don't know personally, but my cousin bought it for me probably 20 years or so ago. And it's framed and it's hanging, and you can just look at it and see all of the quarries, the streets. You can see the red barn that was Jolly Rogers. Does anybody remember him? He was you remember him, Wally?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell he used to
I'll tell my story after you finish.
Okay. Well, Jolly Rogers was the constable of Lanes Cove. So you had to have a mooring, and we had one. When I was 18 years old, I met and married my childhood sweetheart, by the way. But when I was 18 years old, I graduated from high school and got engaged. And the following year, we got married. And we had a lobster boat. We had 10 traps, and we had buoys for the trap. And I still have one of the buoys with his social security number, the last 4 numbers of his social security. That's how they used to register us as being licensed. So anyway, we had a trap, like a hold. We'd come in at the end of the day with our 10 lobster traps, the lobsters that were in it, we'd put them in the hold. And then whenever we had company, we would say, if you want to have lobster, we'll go down and just pull out the lobsters. And we just spread out newspapers on the table. We had a wonderful time. We had 3 children, Thomas Joseph Kane III, his brother Timothy Lewis Kane. Timothy and his wife Susan live in Gloucester, and my son Tom passed 4 years ago, but he was a fisherman, and he spoke often to the laws and the standard that Wally talked about. When the government tries to impose those fines. And just recently, my grandson, Michael, who is a son of my son Thomas that passed, has his own lobster boat. And they are required, but it was just recently denied by the government, to have somebody on board to make sure that the lobsters were counted, the fish were measured, or anything. They had to throw away more things that they could have kept in days gone by. But they're very careful. The lobstermen are very, very careful. Michael has a boat, and the name of his boat is Raising Cain. You can see it. And then my daughter Tracy, we were a state police family, so the police used to work 4 on and 2 off. They come home late on the 4th day after 8 p.m. and then they have the next day off and then have to report back the next morning. So it was really a tough job. And Tracy and my 2 kids and I, we were always with state police families, and our closest friends were state police families, one of which was a family of 10, and they lived in Lynn, and we used to go to Canopy Lake and meet them once a month with our children and have picnics, and the kids always remembered that. So they loved growing up in Lanesville. My daughter Tracy this morning she said, "Mom, I wished so much I could be there." But my granddaughter, one of Tom's children, is having her 2nd child, and they're having a baby shower for her. So that's where Tracy is, at the baby shower. But anyway, just to summarize, the first day of school meeting Ellie was that was the beginning of our friendship, and we had such a nice conversation yesterday. We've been many places, other places. Swimming from Lanes Cove, we'd be on the breakwater, We'd assign one person to carry the clothes to Plum Cove Beach, and we'd swim from the breakwater after diving off along the coastline to Plum Cove Beach. And you can see that in the picture where the areas are. That was another favorite thing. And then Ellie's parents ran a hostel with young people that were cyclists from all over the world. And we met so many people, young people that came back the year after World War II ended. Germany was sending their students to Gloucester High with exchange students, and some of those students that were at the hostel came to Gloucester and lived in Gloucester and became engineers for a company off of 128. And they actually, some of their families came to visit the people that they stayed with. So the stories just go on and on and on. It's a wonderful place to live and grow up. And I still live here. I'm lucky. I still live in Lanesville, right down the street from the new Plum Cove School. I was at the Lane School, Wally was there, Carol was there, Louise was there. We had Miss Rowley for the first grade who always made sure she planted flowers for us to bring home to our moms on Mother's Day. And then Miss Bass in the third and the fourth grade, who loved music. And she would teach us music and tap her foot to every beat, so we learned to read music even though we didn't know what the notes were saying. And then we had Miss Hayden, who retired, Ruth Hayden, she retired before we got to the sixth grade, but she was replaced by a woman, a young teacher out of Teachers College named Virginia Smith. And to end the story, Virginia was into arts so much, especially the living arts. She had us put on the first play that was produced by the Lane Cove School and presented to the Gloucester PTA all over. And it was called The Proud Princess. And all of the kids, all of the boys and the girls had parts in this play. And we had a wonderful time. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm glad
Louise.
Yes. Yes, I'm Louise Grace Lewis, and I think I told some of you here I was born on Woodbury Street. And that's the northern section of Lanesville. And it was actually not populated with other children. It was very strange. So anyway, a little bit of history about growing up as a third generation Lanesvilleite. My maternal grandparents came from the Azores and settled in West Gloucester, where my father, Joe Grace, was born. His father, Joseph Gracia, that was changed to Grace, died at sea on a fishing boat when my father was only 14. So at that age, his mother, my grandmother, Annie Jacinta, took him out of school because she felt he needed to help to support the family. And she worked at a clothing factory in Gloucester. And I don't know what that would be. At that time? Way back then? I don't think so, no. So my maternal grandparents, Hannah Pietala and Andrew Wallama, which was changed to Johnson, came from Finland. And they met here in Lanesville. They married and settled on Woodbury Street. And early on, my mother, the oldest child, remembers that the family would travel to New York State, where my grandfather worked as a tree topper. Now, I did some research trying to figure out what tree toppers did. There's not a lot out there. I'm assuming they removed the tops of trees and put a line.